the link to know about Jackie. Don't forget to follow Jackie Facebook and Twitter. JAKI is a scientific journal for health administration research. The scope of JAKI includes healthcare management, healthcare leadership, healthcare organization, healthcare policy. Bring your ideas to the world. Let's cultivate them to be research. JAKI serves right for you. And connect to researchers around the world through our journal. Click the link to know about JAKI. Don't forget to follow JAKI Facebook and Twitter at JAKI Office.
Indonesian Journal of Health Administration.
Cultivate, collaborate, connect.
Health Administration Research. Submit your article to JAKI and be part of us.
Before I tell you about my article, I really thank you to Indonesian Journal of Health Administration for receiving and publishing my article. Okay, the title of my article is The Implementation of E-Health at Primary Healthcare Center in Surabaya City. This literature review, which collected article from Google from 2015 until 2019. 14 articles were collected, but only 6 articles were discussed because of their relevant topic. This review identified whether the online registration system or e-health has been implemented. The increasing number of patient visit in the primary healthcare city causes long duration at the registration counter. To solve this problem, Surabaya Governor has created an online registration system or e-health. The e-health is expected to give a positive impact on reducing the number of queue at the registration counter. E-health is considered successful when it can implement a good system, become an effective. The output of e-health is decrease the number of quick at the registration counter and shorten its duration. E-health is also integrated with a management information system of primary healthcare center. However, there are some shortcomings of the implementation of e-health. One of them is like the unbalanced socialization. Therefore, some people still face difficult in operating. Training health staff is required, and those are able to operate e-health and transfer their knowledge to patient. Okay, that's all for me, and thank you.
Welcome to the guide on how to operate your open journal system and submit your manuscript to Indonesian Journal of Health Administration. Here, you can find what needs to be concerned while submitting your manuscript to Indonesian Journal of Health Administration. First thing first, get to know what types of manuscripts in Indonesian Journal of Health Administration. First, we accept original research. Second, third, commentary. To know the writing guidelines for each type, please refer to the navigation bar instruction for author and click guide for authors. After the manuscript is ready, sign up to your Open Journal system, create an account for yourself. Remember, every process will be done on Open Journal system, so please keep an eye for that. After that, fill all details on your form. Don't forget to register as reader and author. And this is the end of submission process. Happy trying, everyone!
Hi Putri, can you hear me? How's the sound? Just want to do a sound check.
Yeah, it's clear.
Clear? Can you see me?
Yeah.
Or do I need more? Do I need more
Yeah.
light?
No, I can see you. Are you home?
Yeah, I'm always. Oh, we're working from home until as long as we can.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Sounds checked. Okay. Okay. Right. Let me share. I'm just gonna put the onboard survey for everyone, if that's possible.
Lul, kamu kontak KISHAN Cul. Karena
Sampun, Prof.
mahasiswanya
Pri.
banyak ya.
Nggih, sampun. Sampun.
Kita suruh mulai aja.
Iya.
Pakai ini, enggak muncul.
Bapak Ibu peserta semuanya bisa diisi dulu ya survei, mini survei yang ada di chat, di kolom chat, silakan diisi sebelum nanti kita mulai kuliahnya.
Pagi ul nang di ul, ayune.
Selamat pagi Bunda.
Oke, kaya wis mambu-mambu Australia.
Dr. Kishan, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good morning.
Let me introduce you to some of my colleagues here. Professor Supriyanto.
Hello, Professor.
And also our Vice Dean for Education and Learning Process, Dr. Nyoman Anita Damayanti.
Good afternoon, Doctor. Nice to meet you.
Nice
Thanks
to
for
meet
having
you.
me.
Nice to meet you.
Okay.
Okay. So I can, Putri, it's you're keeping track of the time, and we can start whenever everyone is ready.
Yeah, sure. Actually, how if we can start now by opening from our Vice Dean, and then let our participant also fill the survey also.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, great. Our participant today are students from Bachelor Degree of Public Health and also Master Program in Health Administration. Some of them are practitioners also. So we hope that our discussion in the breakout room will be more active. Okay. Bunda bisa dimulai ya?
Ya, silakan.
Okay. Okay, good morning. Okay, good morning, everyone. Nice to meet you today. We have a very special guest lecture today. It's about social media marketing for healthcare business. I believe that this topic is very urgent now, actually, and more important in the context of COVID-19, where everyone try to always connect it virtually. Okay. Before we start our lecture today, let me ask Dr. Nyoman Anita Damayanti to share some introduction about Faculty of Public Health and also the aim of the this guest lecture. Bunda?
Ya, terima kasih. Thank you, Bu Nusulu. Good morning, selamat pagi semuanya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning and best wishes to all of us, especially to Dr. KISHAN KARIIPPANON, right?
Correct,
Yeah.
correct.
Thank you. From the Faculty of Social Sciences, School of Health and Society, University of Wollongong. On behalf of our Dean and our Faculty of Public Health, we would like to say thank you for your kindness, for your time to share to our students. Apologize from our Dean. She unable to join this event because she has another agenda. We would like to say thank you to our colleagues in Health Policy and Administration Department who organize very valuable activities. Yeah, and special thanks to Jackie, yeah, as a part of our activity in Department of Public Health. As what Ulul said, this is not just lectures activity. We hope we have many goals from this activity. It's not only in addition to adding scientific insight to our students. This activity is also an effort or the way, yeah, to increase networking and partnership between Airlangga University and our colleagues in another university abroad. Yeah. Hopefully, our collaboration will continue in addition to lectures and also to joint research or joint publication, and even if possible, we carry out our academic activities, yeah, in the form, for example, of joint program, joint degree, or double degree program, or maybe exchange students.
Right.
Yeah, because we need to improve our international academic atmosphere, and we need to improve our collaboration. Once again, thank you for your time, Dr. KISHAN KARIIPPANON. Yeah, guided by the moderator. Please feel free to deliver your lectures. Thank you.
Thank you.
And stay healthy and productive. Thank you.
Thank you,
Kepada
Doctor.
mahasiswa, selamat mengikuti kuliah. Ya, selamat sharing, selamat belajar. Ya, kita santai saja. Ya, kita sama-sama belajar meskipun banyak yang sudah pintar bahasa Inggris. Ya, dan ayo kita belajar semuanya untuk berani berbicara. Oke, karena saya diminta untuk membuka acara, maka dengan mengucapkan Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, kuliah ini kita mulai. Terima kasih Bu Ulul dan teman-teman semua. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi dan salam sejahtera untuk kita semua.
Okay, thank you. Terima kasih Bunda. Thank you. Okay, maybe before we start our lecture today, let me read the curriculum vitae of Dr. KISHAN. Let me may I? Or you want to introduce yourself?
I'm happy to tie it in with some important message that I have for the university actually. But yes, and so if you may, I can do it as well. But you're welcome to do it. Up to you.
Let me share. Yeah, I will read it first, and then I'll introduce yourself. How about?
Please try and keep it short, please.
Yes, because your curriculum vitae is very long. Yes.
Yeah. I'm sorry, there is a.
Understand.
This is the of Dr. KISHAN. He's a research fellow and lecturer in the Faculty of Social Science, School of Health and Society, in University of Wollongong, Australia. This is some of his top publication. Most of them talk about the social marketing and also ethnographic study. Let me see, for this one, the education and training background, he is a pediatrician, and then he also graduated from International Health and also a PhD in anthropology in School of Health and Society. You can contact him at this email, and you please visit this some of his social media. I already searched it also to connect with him. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Yep. And then please welcome. Dr. Kishan also already sent you a mini survey at the chat box. Please feel free to fill it first, and then we can start our discussion today.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Putri, I can begin. Yeah.
Yes, you can begin it now.
Okay. Thank you very much to Dr. Newman Anita for her amazing introduction and inspiring a university that you have and a faculty. I looked up the history of your university and I'm so impressed. Already in 1851, you already have a long history in Southeast Asia, and really it gives me an honor because in Australia, we didn't even have a formal country yet in 1851, but you already had a university. So it's a very it's a great history that you have, and I'm very impressed with all your work, and of course, and I loved your video message on sustainable ecology and the future that we're trying to create for our children. It's a great honor for me to be here, and today I have broken down this engagement with you as an interaction, as a way to form a relationship. I noticed that you have already signed an MOU with the University of Belarus. I would hope to see such an MOU with our university one day. I have a dream that we can apply for grants together and have student exchange. Our students come to you, your students come to us. I have a dream that we share our subjects together and our expertise. There's so much that our Australian students can learn from Indonesia. I say this sincerely because my inspiration to study medicine came from a 1-month volunteering trip to Padang in Sumatra in 1995. I was staying in the home of an Indonesian doctor, and his practice really inspired me to study medicine. That's what I did. So let me now open a set of slides that I just want to draw from my lecture today. I have broken down small lectures within the time slot so that I don't put you to sleep. I do not bore you, and I also can engage with you and we can have time to talk, because I want you to get to know me, but I also want to get to know you and your ideas. It's very important that we go away from this lecture with a good, solid understanding of what we can do with each other in research and in pushing knowledge to the next level. So as a practitioner, let me just quickly open this slide and then I share my screen with you. So as an academic, I do interdisciplinary research, and for me, interdisciplinary research is the future of public health. Because we live in a global society, we cannot be too caught up into one silo or one form of practice. We have to constantly learn and change and find different ways of doing things. And I found through my work in social innovation, the theories are really applicable in today's society, which is always changing. I can, when we have time in the next or in the future, I can talk to you about how some of my innovations have received small grants of up to 5,000 Australian dollars from CSIRO and a technology incubator. So I'm public health, but I also use social innovation theory to develop social media marketing tools, also technology tools for public health. And I noticed that Indonesia has many innovations in M-Health already. I take a systems thinking approach. I involve as many variables as possible, and I like to work on complex problems. And each one of my projects has involved multiple disciplines. I don't work alone, and I don't work only with people from public health. Often I work with people from media, from business, and even from engineering. One of the biggest projects I've done is the dementia-friendly Desert Rose House in 2018, where we built a dementia-friendly house from scratch that is net zero energy, so it's fully sustainable, off the grid. We took the house to Dubai, and we won the first prize for innovation and for interior design. So I was in charge of the interior design space, and I worked with students. So this is a student and academic collaboration. And it was using public health methodologies, anthropology, and mostly, of course, my favorite is the design aspect of public health and anthropology. Hopefully we can do more in this field. So this is a digital image of the dementia-friendly house. We hope that we can do lots in Australia, so elderly people can retire and live in a home that is safe for them. In terms of suicide proofing, prisons, I've been involved in this with our innovation on ceiling fans. But he has always been a very key research partner. We don't do research on people. I don't like to do that. I usually work with people together. So that's where I use my ethnographic approach. I go to the people, I live, I work, I eat, and I learn from them how their culture is, how their world works, and we come up and design an intervention together. And so hopefully with Universitas Airlangga, there's a future international collaboration. And through this collaboration, I would like to introduce my colleagues, especially Putri, to other international collaborations, for example, through the article that recently came out on wellness at the Oxford Research Encyclopedia. I would like to talk about, do more research on mental wellness and mental wellness using technology, and hopefully through our collaboration we can grow this field. So this is just a short, quick introduction so that you have an idea of where the whole process of working comes from me. So as an interdisciplinary researcher. Right now, I'd like to, if there are no questions, I would like to go on to my first topic of the day, which is problem identification, and a very interesting work. Often, when I was studying in medicine and public health, everyone knew what the problem was and everyone knew what the answer is. Often we have the answer first, the answer into a problem. So if the answer doesn't fit the problem, we just change the problem and find another problem until the answer or the solution fits the problem. And I think in public health, we have done a lot of this. And in the past, we have not included people's opinion. We've not included people's culture. We have not thought about gender, but in the last 10, 15 years, a lot of things have changed. And now we try our best to get all the voices so we understand where the problem is and what's coming from. So today's talk, media marketing, cannot begin without a discussion on problem identification. So let me set my timer so I know that I'm speaking exactly for 10 minutes on this topic, and then we will break into the next section, or which is the breakout room. So let me close one slide and open up the other slide. Go. Okay, excellent. If you have any questions, please stop me or post your questions. We can see your questions, and she can ask the questions from me if you use the chat. Yeah, that will be very simple because I cannot see what's happening on the chat, and so please stop me. Okay, let's begin. It is very normal and it's very common for lecturers and professors that we acknowledge the traditional owners of the land where we are standing. So where I am in Wollongong, this is the traditional land of the Dharawal people, and it's normal and it's acceptable for me to pay my respects to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, the elders past, present, and the future elders of this country. Acknowledge the indigenous people of this country. One of the key elements of problem identification is acknowledging that there is a social determinants constantly at work. The social determinants is, as you know, conditions in which we are born into, where we live, how we work, where we play, and how we grow old. It involves your socioeconomic status, your level of education, your parents and grandparents' level of education, the suburb in which you live in, the social policies in your country. All of this have social influences on how healthy a person can grow and live a healthy. The social determinants came about by Professor Michael Marmot, and he even got a sir. So he was knighted by the Queen for his services in talking about the social determinants. Before social determinants, people thought that everything we did was about choice, that we have a choice to be healthy. We did not. For some of us, choice alone or human choice or human behavior alone is not enough. We have to understand the context in which people live. And so in social media marketing, marketers, traditional marketers, not always, sometimes forget that there is a social determinants at play. Okay, so I'm just going to check in with you. Am I speaking too fast? Do you understand? Is it all okay? Can I keep talking like this? Okay, all right. And so the Whitehall studies that was conducted over 40 years made very clear that the people who are at the bottom of the socioeconomic scale have to jump through many, many hurdles to be healthy. And the people at the elite or the top scale can basically walk to the end goal, which is living healthy for a long time. But the social determinants framework also says the people in the middle, those who are somewhat educated, somewhat wealthy, somewhat in control, even they have challenges and hurdles. Their rock is not too big, their rock is smaller, and it's chained to their back. So they can still get there, but it takes a lot of effort because, one, disempowerment, there is social exclusion in some countries for women, for example, or there's social exclusion of indigenous people, of minorities. And this has a huge impact on people. The history, for example, in Australia, the government has been done very bad things to the people of Australia, the Aboriginal people of Australia. And so for them to be healthy is very hard. And even though the history of colonization in Australia is much less compared to Indonesia, compared to India, but the impact of that is still felt until today. So I just want you to keep this in mind, that whatever problem we identify, we have to think about the social determinants. So now that we agree with each other that the social determinants is the platform, on the social determinants, we empathize with the target group, we understand what their culture is, what their needs are, particularly what their history is, and we evaluate our assumptions. Problem identification asks us to think about what are my assumptions? What am I assuming about them? Sometimes when I teach my students, whether undergrad or postgrad, I get the sense that nothing much has changed, because when I was a student, I always had this feeling, yes, I can change the world. All I have to do is put a nice poster out there. All I have to do is send an email to people. Or actually, when I was in university, there was no email. So I'll write a letter to everyone, right? I had an assumption that people were not achieving their best potential, mental health, physical health, because they were not educated. They did not know the information or the data. So that assumption needs to be evaluated. And there are many assumptions. For example, we assume that healthcare costs are expensive. We assume that healthcare is fantastic, it's perfect, the clinic is beautiful, it's done. It's like a mall, for example, or a beautiful cafe. You don't have to market it. But in reality, a healthcare center is not so easy a place for people to access. People don't want to acknowledge that they are. The second question about problem statement is that it's often very huge. It's so big, it's at a policy level. And we really cannot tackle policy level problems. We don't have the political will sometimes. We don't have the huge funding. and we don't have a rich bank account to tackle these problems just because we think it is a good problem to tackle. So we have to keep narrowing down this problem until we find one that resonates with the people, one that resonates with our wallet, our grant, our funding, but also one that makes sense, because we cannot always operate at a policy level. Policy cannot change everything. It can change only some things. And then the problem statement and the problem definition or problem identification needs to have this other element, which is the organization of your people skills and engagement strategy. What do I mean when I say people skills? I mean that you cannot identify a problem when you don't have the right skill sets in your team. If you have a bunch of marketers sitting in a room, they are going to have only a marketing level speak or talk or discussion. But when you have marketers, public health, and maybe anthropologists, maybe cultural studies, someone from cultural studies. So when you have a multidisciplinary team, then the conversations become complex. Yes, it's very hard, trust me. To come to an agreement with a multidisciplinary team is very difficult. Everyone speaking a different language, but it is absolutely essential in today's global market that we do all sit down together at the table. And then when we can sit down and when we bring all the skills that we need, then we can figure out the engagement strategy. But before that, if we don't know what the skill sets are, then it's pointless. One of the big challenges I face working here in Wollongong and in public health is that everyone only knows health promotion. That's it. The health professionals only understand health promotion, nothing else. That's too narrow a mindset. Our views as public health professionals in social media marketing must be really wide. We have to be so creative in problem identification, right? Not just analytical, but also very creative, because often the problem is not so logical or not so rational. And the last point I want to make in my final minute is we learn by doing. Why do we learn by doing? See, when I studied public health, they taught me how to write a project paper, and I have a project paper like a law. But sometimes you learn from your people that, oh, Kishan, it doesn't work. And then you say, sorry, I can't change it because I already have a project paper and it's signed off by my boss. I have to follow it. But if we have a project system where we can learn by doing, and then we can alter and change and grow with the project, then we won't have this type of tunnel vision, but we will be able to act without fear of failure. Often we're all afraid of things like the project not being a success, or we don't have the numbers, or we always have these failures. I do too. So we have to put these fears aside and accept from a leadership perspective. So people at the top and people that doing the work need to understand that we are always in a learning curve with social media marketing. It's always experimental. It's always about reaching targets sometimes, and sometimes not reaching targets, but learning from that, then creating new skills, figuring out what's missing in our team, bringing the people with those skills, and then doing it again and launching and learning. So these are some of the key points that I wanted to bring out about problem identification and some of the challenges. So I'd like to sum up that we need to have a social determinants mindset. Complex, human beings are complex: religion, culture, geography, economy, education. We need to evaluate our assumptions. We need to work in a team, multidisciplinary team. We need to bring different strategies together. We need to try and do and learn and make mistakes, and then. So this is my first presentation for today. I'd like to open up the breakout room with a very simple question. And so in our breakout room, I'd like to ask you a question to discuss. Now, I'd like to discuss what are some of the other challenges of problem identification that I did not mention in this lecture. So now I want you to tell me what I may not know about your context, about your country. What are some of the things that you know about problem identification, and what are some of, and maybe someone can tell me a story about how they managed to overcome this. So let's spend about 5 to 10 minutes here. If you're ready, we can finish. We can come back earlier, and then we can share. We can spend more time sharing with stories. Okay, so if I can ask you to please create some breakout rooms and set the timer. I've got the timer here. I'll set it for 7 minutes.
Okay, I already opened the breakout room. Please, participant can choose whether they want to enter which breakout room.
Is everyone back? Okay, has everyone come back from the breakout rooms? Excellent. Now let's get some volunteers. Now I'd like to hear your ideas, your views. How have you dealt with problem identification in your work, in your area, in your hospital, or in your puskesmas? What's going on? Tell me, share with us. Any volunteers? Hello, everyone. Is anyone there? Hello. Okay. Let's have a couple of volunteers share what you discussed about your experience with problem identification. Any volunteers?
Silakan Bapak Ibu.
Please feel free to talk. It's very informal. Or you can even put it on the chat. Yep. Oh, I can hear a voice. Thank you. Anyone? Okay. Anyone? Come on. I'm sure
Okay.
you. Yeah,
Uh,
fantastic. Thank you.
okay. Thank you for the opportunity. So previously, I'm in the public healthcare group. So the group divided become two group, right? Hospital and the public health center. Oh yeah. We just realized that the chat room that we have previously in the breakout room is reset when we join the main room. So we kind of like shocked and try to recall again what we have been discussed before. We didn't like screenshot or we didn't write it down. We are so sorry, but I
That's
might
okay.
share some. I might share some point, and maybe the other member of the group can like jump in and add some points too.
Thank
I
you.
remember the points that we highlight. It's about um, digital literacy that the people has here in Indonesia, and also um, especially in the district area, we are very diverse about it. And of course, it's about social marketing and healthcare. So we concern about the health literacy that the people has here, because some of the problem is going through about hoax that's going on in Indonesia and some places. And thank you, Berna. It's also about the technology competition, like the facility about the internet that we have in different area. It's very not same level. That's some of the point that I can share. Thank you.
I just want to confirm. So one is fake news,
Yes,
hope messages like fake news, yeah, and the inequality in digital access. Inequality. Not everyone has the same access.
exactly. And I think the hoax or the fake news, it's related with the health literacy and digital literacy that we have. I'm sure that two that kind of factors can be like we can find the root problem of it, but I don't know. Is that a complex things? It's I don't know. It's a mass communication or something.
I think
Thanks.
it's a very good comment, and I think identifying the problem is the hardest part in this whole journey. And really accepting it that it's hard. That's the start of the journey, and that's a good start. That's a very good start because we don't have all the answers. We can only, according to the theory that I use, we can only learn by doing. We can only learn by doing. Fantastic. Thank you so much for this very important point. Can someone else add to this? Can someone give me another couple of points for me to write down? Any other volunteers? Okay. One. Okay. I don't want to force you. And I think that these issues that was brought up by my dear colleague just now is a global problem, and fake news or hoax has a huge toll on lives everywhere right now. And digital access or digital literacy is also something else. So we are always competing. We public health people, healthcare people are always competing with the rest of the noise that's happening. We are competing with, we're competing with Netflix. We are competing with the next new song that's just come out from Peter Pan. I don't know if Peter Pan is still playing music or, so we're always competing for people's time to listen to us. And it's very hard competition. It's very, very hard competition. So let's me now, what I'll do is I will take you to the next lecture. And I also, once again, will not too long. I have my timer here because I don't want you guys to get tired of and seeing me only talk. I'm going to talk for another 10 minutes. Yeah, I'm going to time myself. I think 10 minutes is a good length. Not more, maybe about 9. And I'm going to talk about anatomy of social media marketing. So there are some concepts about social media marketing, but I like to do a bit of critical theory. So I like to ask questions. Is that true? Is that real? Is this correct? A lot of our science is coming from the West, from Europe, from North America, from Australia, not a lot. And a lot of our viewpoints are being forced onto us living in this region. This is Southeast Asia. I know I'm a bit outside, but my heart and mind is always in Southeast Asia. And so we now have to shift our gaze a little bit and try to think, hang on, thank you for your ideas, the West. Let's think about how we see this, because we know our people the best. So let me go on to the next set of slides. This one is called the anatomy of social media marketing. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully I get the right slide. Yeah. I like to have short presentations and short slides, and I don't like to talk too long, but I like the engagement with you, give you time to think and relax, because we're all zoomed out. We're all tired. So I'm very conscious of that. And so the first 3 slides is a little bit dense. It's like eating a nice plate of rice with lots of chicken and curry and whatnot, vegetables. So you must eat slowly. And so I will go slow for the start, and then I will speed up. A little bit of theory. So my apologies for talking theory, but we need this theory to go forward. Okay. So bear with me, please be patient. I will start. Okay. So there are theories, and why is Kishan talking about social innovation in a social media marketing lecture? That is really weird, right? Trust me, I did not think I will be doing for many years as a public health practitioner. Yeah. So before I became an academic, I was a health professional. Yeah. For a while, I worked as a doctor in Timor-Leste in 2006. I worked there for about 6 months in the Bairopite clinic. Thankfully, my Bahasa Melayu was okay. I can talk, and then I learned a little bit of Tetum, so I can manage. And then I did public health, and I worked with Aboriginal people, so very remote, small community, 2,000, 3,000 people, a few years there, and then only I became an academic. So I'm not always, I was not always an academic, right? So when I became an academic, I noticed that all academics talk only theory, but they have not enough practice, not enough experience. So social innovation lets me bring practice with the theory together to make it robust, to make it really strong. So there are 3 things that we need to do. I'll start the timer now. So there are 3 things to learn about social innovation in media marketing, because what we are doing is we're not selling shoes. We're not selling a nice dress. We're not selling a shirt. We're not selling a glass. Do you know what I mean? We are selling something very intangible. We always sell health. We always say to be healthy, and then someone gets cancer and passes away. We cannot guarantee anything. We cannot. When I sell you a glass like this, I can say, I give you a guarantee for 6 months, this glass won't break. You say, fantastic, I buy it. But what about health? I give you health information. I cannot promise you anything. I cannot guarantee you anything. You know, when I was working in tobacco control, so many people died, not because of smoking, because of other things, because of life, because of poverty, because of stress. They don't die from smoking per se. People know this. So people tell me, hey, Kishan, you're very philosophical. I said, no, I'm not. Let me explain why social innovation is very relevant for us today. And I will do it as fast as possible and as painlessly as possible. So we have 3 perspectives. One is the co-creation perspective. In pure marketing is not co-creation, but now slowly marketing is trying to make material together. That's why they love word of mouth. They like user-generated content. They love it. If users can create their own content about why this Puskesmas is good, why this clinic is fantastic, why this hospital is great, that's what makes effect, that has impact. So co-creation is a very important process. Here we have to think like an entrepreneur. We have to think like not like a businessman, but an entrepreneur, someone who is willing to try new things to create a new effect, a different effect, a different process of venture. Second is the role of disequilibrium. Nothing is in balance. Or entrepreneurs or public health doing marketing and social media marketing is always changing their tactic and strategy because they're constantly getting new information generated by their interaction with other people, the stakeholders, with maybe with investors, maybe with regulators, maybe with politicians, maybe with your supervisor. So we have what we call kaleidic interactions. We must always have multiple people feeding information to us. So we're constantly getting new information, and we are very agile, we're very flexible, we change. And the third point of why I like using social innovation theory in social media marketing is, in social media and in marketing, we always tell a story. We don't just put the glass there and say $10.99. We don't say that. We don't put a phone and say $2. We can't. We always tell a story. Apple tells the story of laid back, informal. Microsoft, suit, tie, Bill Gates. Everyone has a story. So what is our story when we do public health and social media marketing? We need to have a narrative perspective. But to write this narrative, to put meaning into the experiences on social media, on the content, it cannot start with assumptions. So we have to find our assumptions and tackle it, change it, okay? And we have to use, in the narrative perspective, we have three parts: relational, temporal, and performative. Relational means, this is really tricky here, please be patient. Relational means that we are all connected to people, to networks, to community, to target groups, to age, to gender. We have to situate ourselves in their shoes. We have to understand what the relationship is. Everything is about relationship. In 1996, when I crossed the border on a boat from Malaysia to Indonesia, and then I took a bus and then a taxi, and I came, and wherever I went after Indonesia was the first country I went to visit. After I traveled, I noticed that we are all finding ways of being relational with each other, right? We're all trying to find meaning between you and me. So the relational aspect of public health or the hospital with the must establish. They must feel that they know you, and you must try your best to know them. Okay. Second, it is temporal, meaning it is time bound. Time is of the essence. You cannot do things for 1 month or 3 months. The vision must always be long-term, but in phases, but still long-term. And when you talk about long-term, there is no success and success all the way. Yeah, there will be success, failure, different types, up and down, but across the time axis. And the third is performative, which I said in the problem identification mini lecture, is about doing, learning by doing. And when you learn by doing, you have to say, I am not afraid of failure. If I make a mistake, it's okay. I will learn from it and I will get better. Right. So there are lots of these theories are here. I will send a PDF slide to Putri, and she can share it with you if you want. But all these three aspects make social media marketing in public health very, very different, because we're not selling a glass. We're not selling a phone. We're selling a new way of thinking. We're selling meaning. We're selling a lot of interesting things. Let me tell you a story. Can I tell you a story? I just want to tell you a quick story. My father was 57 years old when he retired. Oh, 55, 57, technically. But he didn't retire. He is an English teacher in Malaysia. So he teaches English. And he came to visit me one day. And my son was born. My son was 1 year old. And my father said to me, oh, Kishan, usually men in Malaysia live until 65, 70. That's the usual age, maximum. He said to me, I only have maybe 15 years to live. I want to spend as much time as possible with my grandson. And I was very, very angry. I said, what? You only plan to live for 15 years? What is wrong with you? And it's the mindset. And I have to, over the years, I have had to change the way we both see life and longevity and healthy aging. It's been a long process. And since then, my father has started cycling. He has playing hockey, playing squash. He goes for a little bit of walk. He sits on the bicycle. I bought him a bicycle. And he always tells me, oh, I've cycled 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers, 4 kilometers. So now my father is 67 years old. He is on hypertension medication, but everything is under control. Everything is under control. He feels good. He's still teaching English. He's still active. He still looks after himself. He still drives. He cleans. He can climb a rambutan tree. He can still go to his garden and, get some sayur from the garden. So even at 67, I can see that the mindset has changed, but it has taken that relationship, because I say, look, I'm your son. I want to see you live well, live healthy, and contribute. All the children that he's teaching will miss him. So that's a very important personal strategy that I have used. But I think it's really important for public health to think about this relationship. It is not the relationship of an expert. You see, we cannot be. We are not God. We cannot decide who lives and who doesn't. Okay, but it is our responsibility to give them the information and help them, but not as expert. We are all here to serve humanity. We are servants of humanity. We want to make people's lives better. Of course, we get paid for this, of course, but we are not experts all the time. Sometimes we are not experts. So the leadership that we show in social media marketing is about asking the right questions. So now we've more or less identified the problem. We know that social media marketing is a very organic process. It's like making a beautiful song. It's like writing a good movie that everyone will watch and say, this movie is fantastic. This movie is amazing. So, but the problem with social media marketing is the innovation is limited by a one-sided tech-centric paradigm. The paradigm is very much simple, too simple. Oh, we can put a video. Oh, we can put a poster. Oh, we can say, please stop smoking. If you don't stop smoking, you will die. That's the tech. We're just using the technology to do the same things we did 20 years ago. But the good news is, if we bring different disciplines, for example, social sciences, we can start a different kind of conversation on social media. I'm going to take an extra few minutes. I hope you don't mind, maybe 5 minutes more to explain. So there's another theory that I use a lot in social innovation. That it's called the Fogg behavior model. It's the theory that came about by Professor B.J. Fogg from the Stanford Persuasive Technology Lab. Has anyone watched the Social Dilemma documentary? It's online, the social dilemma, where we talk about social media, the impact of social media on people, right? So my professor, and I took a course with him in 2010 to study how to use technology for public health. So I didn't go to the Stanford Persuasive Technology Lab in San Francisco. I didn't go to Palo Alto. He came to Australia. So I went to Sydney and did a course with him, and he came to Australia. And we learned about how things are done on social media. What makes it effective? What makes it important to people? What makes it effective in terms of return of investment, right? Let me explain something to you. The model that Professor B.J. Fogg used is quite famous. And I'm saying this because he was involved in the design of the Facebook platform. He was involved, one of his students that graduated started Instagram, right? And he has gone on to write multiple papers and even a new book about how we can use technology to create new behaviors, okay? So let me explain to you what this theory is about. and how you use it with social media. So most public health strategy is about, can you see my cursor? It's white, but I hope you can see my cursor. Yes? Can you just, if someone can put their thumbs up, see my cursor here? Yeah, okay. So most public health social media marketing is mostly relying on motivation. It's mostly relying on motivation. We always want to motivate people. We tell people, and we use the health belief model concept, and we say, if you don't do this, you will get sick. If you don't do this, you will die. And we try to use this model to motivate people. And so most of our behaviors are always require a lot of high motivation. You know, to quit smoking is a very high motivation act. To quit smoking today you stop and then you don't smoke again ever in your life. Very, very high motivation. To eat healthy and exercise, very high motivation, right? And the ability to do this behavior is either hard to do and then it becomes easy and easy and easy. So there's high motivation, low motivation, hard to do and easy to do. What we need to do in social media marketing is to engage people in behavior change or information exchange that don't need too much motivation and is also easy to do. Any questions so far? Was that clear? This is a very important message. So we have to adjust. We have to adjust. The motivation must be, you don't want people to be too motivated, just nice. And the behavior must be easy to do. Okay. What is a good example? This is a very funny example. An example is smoking. You say to someone, can you quit for 1 week? Can you quit for 2 weeks? It's so different from asking someone to quit forever. Am I right?
Yes.
And so the ability to do that is by using technology. For example, patch, pharmacological patches, or nicotine spray. You can't just say, oh, now you have to quit for 1 week, 2 weeks, give it a try, but you don't have any nicotine to help them do that behavior, make the behavior easy to do. So our responsibility is two things. Number one, we have to slow down on expecting people to be super motivated to do what we want them to do. Secondly, we have to think about small steps, baby steps, easy, easy, easy to do, and then we build from there. Okay. Now, so what are we talking about today? I've got, I'm slowly running out of time, but let me see. So here's what I want you to think about. These are my concluding slides. I gave you two very big chunks of information about social innovation theory, and then I told you about the folk behavior model. What can you do with these things? With these things, I want you to understand your social media platform. What are you using? Are you using Facebook? Are you using Instagram? Are you using YouTube? Understand it. Understand it as well as possible so that, and understand who you're targeting and what they are using. You know, I have a very, very naughty habit, and let me tell you what it is. I hope you forgive me. I like to catch the bus. Sometimes I take a break when I'm teaching on campus, and I take the bus and I go for a round on the bus. And I sit on top in the back of the bus and I look at a lot of millennials come in and what they do on their phone. The way they scroll the phone is very different. They are just going very fast. They're just not interested, not interested, not interested. Okay, maybe this is interesting. Oh, not interested, not interested, not interested. So they are constantly streaming and pushing things. It's something has to catch the eye. So understand your platform and understand your platform and who's using that platform. If you just put a boring piece of picture, forget about engagement. Forget about engagement. If you post only once, forget about it. Understand the platform and how people are using that platform. People use TikTok because it has music, it has movement, it is a short video. People watch it. People will try to at least watch 2 seconds. Okay. Evaluate your resources and target group. How much can you spend? You can spend millions of dollars on a post, or you can spend as little as possible. Right? There are many bloggers or vloggers who have made videos that are very simple, just with their phone. And I know there's some great stories in Asia about your use of mobile phones to make media. Beautiful. It sounds great. It looks great. It feels great. But what resources do you have and who's your target group? You've got to create that material for them. don't just think that you have to go to a professional studio to do it. You have to think about what people want and what they need before you do anything. And as I said before, in problem identification, narrow down your problem statement, but also narrow down your topic. When you talk about smoking, for example, or when you talk about quit smoking, when you talk about come to the health services when you feel cold, when you feel sick, beautiful apps. Putri shared with me a list of apps rated very highly that the government has made. Fantastic, beautiful. So narrow down your topic. Ask your clients to do one thing, maybe two, but not more than that. Don't ask your clients to change their eating, stop smoking, eat healthy, exercise, walk. Oh my God, it's too much. They're not going to do it. So find a very simple, narrow down your topic. Even when you talk about quitting or eating less sugar, for example, bring it down to a much more easier thing to do that requires little motivation, not a lot of motivation. And the last point, pivot early, not at the end. Pivot means change. Pivot is you're going in this direction and suddenly you see a wall. What do? You turn and you keep walking around the wall and then you keep going. That's what pivot is. Pivot is you have a problem, you just turn and you find another way to go. You don't stand in front of the wall and start breaking that wall. We don't have time. We don't have resources. Some behaviors, some ideas or ideologies are very because of the social determinants, okay? So pivot, change, find another way, attract your user, understand where they are. Right. So and that's where, and with I'd like to summarize this, I'd like to summarize this particular lecture, and I'd like to finish here. I'd like to say that there are two theories that we use in social media marketing. Of course, we use marketing theory, but because we are not selling shoes, clothes, we are selling ideas, we're selling behavior, we need to use social innovation theory and the Fogg behavior model. I'm happy to conduct a future session or a webinar on this anytime if you want, and I can go more in depth for you. This is just a very superficial, just for the discussion, okay? So that's it from me. I'm going to stop sharing so that I can take any questions from the participants. Well, while you think of a question, let's talk a few more minutes about the health industry transitioning into social media. From my experience, it has been either very good or very poor. Okay, it's been either very good or very poor. It's either been very well funded for very common issues, for example, HIV, or it's been very poor because we ask too much from our people. We ask them too much. It's too much to ask them to eat healthy when they are poor. We ask them to exercise when they are working 12, 13, 14 hours a day. So the transitioning has been very poor, but that means that this is an opportunity for us, you and me, to innovate and to find new ways of tackling health problems using digital technology. That's really what I want to say in short. So any questions from the group?
I would like to ask.
I would like to ask.
Okay, my name is Aisha and I'm a bachelor degree student of public health. So actually, when I first heard about social marketing, using social media and something like that, my mind always teach me to like lead to this kind of direction in which we talking about a lot of people, like mass people.
Yes.
But I start to question myself about how we use this kind of method to approach in some special group of people. Like they have this unique characteristics. Like you said, you've been into some, like minority group and something like that. How should we use this kind of method to approach them? Yeah, that's my question. Thank you.
Yes, that's a very good question. It's a great question. I love this question. Let me check with you that I've understood your question right. You're asking me, most of social marketing or social media marketing is about mass engagement. You do, one message for everyone, and you're asking how can we tailor this for smaller groups, for more niche market.
Yeah.
Thank you, Aisha. We have no choice but to do this. We have no choice. So I always like to give my answers, put 3 points in my answers. So there's the 3 points in my answers is that how to do it is to first use the folk behavior model. Use the folk behavior model and find a message that doesn't require too high a motivation, and it's also easy to do. So the less motivation to do something and the easy to do it will bring you success. Okay, that's one. The second thing is to always go with the skill sets you have. Start with what you know. So for example, you're working in a healthcare department, in the ministry or in the hospital. You know the hospital has an area. You know your clients that come to the hospital. Work with what you've got. Ask the people who are already coming to you about those who are not coming or those who should be coming. So talking, creating advisory groups. This is very popular right now in high income countries. They pay people from the public to come and become their advisors. So for example, in Australia, it's very hard to get young men to come to the hospital or to the clinic to get checked up. Women, no problem. They come to the hospital all the time. But men, they don't like to come. So we try our best to find young men and create an advisory group, and then we interview them. If we have a policy or if we have a question, we go to them and we ask, will this work with your age group? And we get some answers, and then we try. So there's always an advisory group about it. But we always have, and we always have a list of our target groups from easy to hard. So we don't, when you go and pluck a fruit from a tree, you try and pluck the fruit that is the closest to your hand first. And then you slowly climb, but don't climb too high because you might fall down, right? So try and capture what is the closest first, and then you build your skill sets in that way. So that's my answer. I hope you are happy with it, Aisha.
Thank you.
I would like to ask a question to Mr. KISHAN. Hello? Can you hear my voice?
Oh.
Can you hear my voice? No?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Can you hear my voice now?
Very loud. Yes, very good.
Okay. I would like to ask an example for your ideal client in social marketing media, social media marketing, maybe in Australia. An example, an ideal example.
Okay, I'll give you an example that is two examples. I'll give you one example that is very high level. So the federal government puts money into this. And one of these high level examples is in the area that I used to work in. I used to work in sexual health. And Australia has the highest rates of chlamydia, one of the highest rates of chlamydia. And it's very high between the ages of 16 and 25. Okay. So, and chlamydia is it's a very easily treatable infection. But if you don't treat it, because there are no symptoms, you can get pelvic inflammatory disease and become infertile. So it's a huge cost on the country, huge cost. Many Australian women cannot have children, and they spend $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on IVF. So a huge problem, and I'm sure you understand where this is coming from. So the federal government puts out a social media marketing campaign for the whole country. Okay, this is for the whole country. And you know what they do? Because they cannot, and because their imagination is very siloed, they put a picture of a very beautiful girl and a very beautiful man or a boy, and they say, please use a condom. That's it. And it's digital, so it's not it's digital, so it's a short video. People are dancing in a nightclub, people are meeting, people are drinking alcohol, and then next thing you know, they've got chlamydia. You know, very simple types of answers like this. Their problem identification was very 60s, 70s, 80s, when they were growing up, and they go to the pub, they meet someone, and then they go home. You see, so it was an old-fashioned type of thinking, and so that was one. Millions of dollars were spent on this, and people just watch it, and they go, yeah, not for me. That's not me. I don't. We use the word hook up. I don't hook up in the pub anymore. Young people, they go, who hooks up in the bar? There's crazy strangers. It's dangerous. No one goes to the bar to hook up. So after some research work that I was doing, I learned from other researchers that actually young people are doing a different style of hooking up. They are making friends on Facebook. They are chatting with their friends on Messenger. And there is a feeling of, I know this person. They are clean, you know? So when you feel your fear is not so serious, next time you meet them, you go out for a date, and it's very simple. A lot of people were having sex without using a condom. And when we did our research, we found out that young people thought that if he looks clean, he has a job, he has a nice house, maybe he doesn't have chlamydia, right? So people were making assumptions. So there was a national social media campaign about being even beautiful people have chlamydia. So they were trying to go with that assumption, right? And then there was the local social media marketing campaign that said that it doesn't matter if you know this person. It doesn't matter if this person has is educated or has a job. If you're having unprotected sex, you are at high risk of getting chlamydia, period. So we understood our local context, and we spoke to the local context and tackled their assumptions. Very, very common problem in Australia. So we have a national, and then we have local, and often they don't mix. But now they've slowly stopped doing these national campaigns now. They've stopped doing it because they realize that there is no one message for all Australians. I hope I answered your question, Leonie.
Yes, thank you, Dr. KISHAN. I understand answer, but I would like to
thank you for asking that wonderful question.
Yeah, I would like to ask a more specific idea. That's your example is for national government for Australia, but here in Indonesia or Surabaya specifically, I came from Surabaya. I'd like to ask about a private hospital marketing.
Sure, ask me.
Due to pandemic, due to pandemic COVID-19, we lost our customer. Our customer decreased very large because people are afraid to come to hospital. How from social media marketing we can get our customer back?
That's a very good question. That's a very good question. It's a very important question. Social media marketing is all about trust. What have we done to build that trust? That's a fantastic question. Thank you for asking that. Without trust, there is no marketing. There is no marketing. That's why brand is so important. So the trust has to be built from the start. And when the trust is there and you say, this is how we do things, this is our procedure, this is our, maybe the result is that they will come. Often in healthcare, it is the trust that's the issue. Often in healthcare, unfortunately, and this is a global problem, people don't trust health services. People only come when they have no choice. And we have to change that. We have to, can I tell you a story? And I was a medical student, and in my final year doing my clinic, so I was working in what you call a puskesmas or a clinic, polyclinic, and a little girl came with her mother, and she opened the door. The mother opened the door. The little girl was 5 years old. She came straight to me and she said, "Good morning, doctor. How are you?" And she put her arm up like this. And I looked at the mother, and the mother said, oh, she likes doctors and nurses. She's not afraid. And then something happened here, and I said, wow, this is the future when people are not afraid of doctors anymore, or healthcare system, or nurses. I'm working with a colleague in India. Do you know this? Do you know this? In India, people are afraid to go to the hospital because as soon as they go to the hospital, they put in IV, they give them a jab, they do this, they do this, they do this, and then they give you a bill for 1,000 rupees. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's a problem. It's a huge problem in India. So my colleague in India has started a business where the doctors now go to the house of the patient. Yeah. So there's a very difficult and different relationship between. So Indonesia may be a different as context. Maybe there is trust, but that trust needs more in a hospital, in the hospital relationship. So sorry for the long answer, my dear colleague, sorry for the long answer, but I think it is trust mainly. And trust can be built, but it has to be built authentically. So no actors. It has to be built by the people. In fact, your staff are your best tools for building trust. Your nurses, your cleaners, the people who are on the ground, who see the patients. When everyone is, treating each other with respect, then that becomes the ideology of your brand, and then everyone will know that this is a safe place to come to. So that's what I believe in. But it starts at the bottom. It starts at the cleaner, the nurses. Very important. We look after the nurses. The nurses are happy. The nurses are the ones who promote our hospital and our care. I'm sure there are many people who say, oh, please don't ever go to that hospital. I'm sure even health professionals say, oh, don't go to that hospital. Oh, no. I wouldn't go. It happens. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. KISHAN.
Okay, I think we should take a 5-minute break. Sorry, 5-minute break or less. I'm conscious of time. Yes, I think we have just nice one more presentation from me. And then we can have a little bit more time for questions and answers, more discussion. You turn on your video, I will sit down and we can talk. So we have gone a little bit over time, but that's great. That's great. Let me share. Let me just take. Actually, in the interest of time, or maybe I will just. If do you think I can continue, or do you need a break? If you need a break, let me know. I will give you. I can give you a 2 or 3 minute break.
It's okay to continue.
2, 3. Yeah. Do you want me to continue?
Yep.
Okay. Hang on 1 second. Just getting the slide. The next topic of discussion is the is what we call the value proposition of where's my slide? Sorry, I just trying to look for my slide deck. Yes, there we go. This is something that I really want to give you a quick and dirty. We call it quick and dirty in Australia. It's a quick one. This is called the value proposition of social media, right? So the great question from my colleague about how do you use social media to get people to come to the clinic, to get to the hospital, that question is the father of this presentation, or the mother of this, that should be the mother of this presentation. Short one. I will aim for 10 minutes. So hopefully you have your tea or your glass of water, have a nice sip. I hope you're eating something right now. Sit back and try and enjoy my presentation. So the value proposition of social media marketing. These are just the very simple things that I think would make a big difference to your discussion on social media marketing. It's very, and if you ever want to do a project, please talk to my colleague. If you want, I'm very happy to be involved and to assist. I'm sure I can learn so much from you and from your experience. So please invite me and include me. I would love to work with you online. And when the border is open, I will be the first person to come to Surabaya to see you all in person. Okay, so what we have, sorry for this, I hope you can see the slide. It's called customer segment. So there are a few things that I want to use, and has anyone heard of the business model canvas? Have you heard this in your study? Yeah, good.
Yeah, I'm seeing.
So this is a tool that I have taken and I borrowed from business and brought it into social media marketing design. The customer segment is number one. Who is the customer we are talking about? If we're talking about clients who are who feel a bit afraid to come to the hospital or don't want to come to the hospital because they will get infected with COVID-19, then we have to really try and pick that customer. Who do we want? Do we want women with children, or do we want men who are working for the government, or do we want businessmen because they travel a lot, or do we want teachers? We have to really pick who will come. And remember, pick those who will come, the low-hanging fruits. You always pluck the low-hanging fruits first. So figure out who your customer segment is. And then think about what value can you give to them. If they're afraid of coming to the hospital and catching the virus, okay, try and find a way to make it safe for them. Maybe it's more procedures before they come into the hospital. Maybe it's an external clinic. Maybe you have to think about this, and I'm sure you're doing this already. So the value proposition is absolutely important. What is the value you're giving them? They want to get tested, but their value proposition is not to find out if they are sick or not sick. They just don't want to be infected with the virus. So that's their value proposition. If you can convince them that there is no way, or 99% impossible for you to get the virus because all our nurses and doctors are doing everything safely, then that's the value that they want. So they may come. Yeah. So try and figure out what is the value proposition that they want. Please don't do this. Sell health. We cannot sell health. We only sell procedures in health to be healthy. Okay, so we cannot say, yeah, don't worry, if you come, you'll be fine, you'll be healthy. No, we sell safety. That's easy to sell, a value proposition. We sell treatment. So if you come with us, our treatments are really good. They are clean, or whatever it is. They are hygiene, simple things. So the value proposition is really important. What connects the value proposition to the people? The channel. How is the value proposition transported to the customer segment, to our people? Number one, always believe in this 100%. Our nurses are our number one channels. If we don't look after our nurses and our cleaners, the people who do a lot of hard work, and the doctors are also very, very hardworking people, but the nurses, the health worker, the public health professional, these people are really important people. So they need to be the channel number one. If they say good things about the hospital, about the service, people will take it more seriously. People, at least the bare minimum is they shouldn't say anything negative, even though it's true. We have to be careful with this. The channel can also be the website, right? What does the website look like? Does it look like you're trying to sell them health, or does it look like you are selling them trust, respect? One of the big case studies that I'm learning right now in India is that doctors think they are God, and people are afraid to come and see doctors because they feel very inadequate. They feel very shy. They feel scared. But that model needs to be switched. Doctors are not gods. Okay, they're not gods. So the channel of this value proposition is very important. The website needs to look caring, empathic. It cannot look like a corporate business thing that they're trying to sell you something. Even if it looks expensive. Why would I come if I feel like it's going to charge me a lot of money? Okay, the channel. And then the other channel, which is the social media channel, is another aspect where you need to have the media, the conversations, the discussions. People must say, you must say as the staff, we have a great place to work. We have a good service. These are the good things. Even if there's only 3 good things about it, focus on the 3 good things. Talk about the 3 good things. Don't worry about the 7 not so good things. Okay. And then you look at customer relationships. The customer relationship is in the way, is about the conversation. And this, of course, is changing. People want to be treated with respect and with care, not like they are a burden on the system. So we find the basic customer relationship is absolutely important. The mutual respect, that they have respect for health workers and vice versa. So the customer segment we can do many things we can do to understand, but interviewing people, talking to people, looking at some literature review, partnering with researchers like Putri to ask what does the literature say? What does research in other parts of the world or Indonesia say about this? And identify the early adopters, people who are most likely to use or to engage with your social media marketing. So you're not doing en masse, you're doing for a small market, and then you grow your market segment step by step by step by step. Okay. And you, in your value proposition, even if it takes 8 weeks, to develop your value proposition, it's normal. It's normal. You start the first 2 weeks of consultation, 3 weeks of finding out your customer segment, and then only in week 8 you totally understand your value. Don't take a value proposition and try and force it on your customer segment. Yeah, it won't work. So this is the canvas. This is the business model canvas, and I use this a lot. The front end is the market, which is on the right-hand side, on the right-hand side, yeah. And the side on the left is your product, is the back end of your product, of your social media marketing. Remember, all these things are important because even though it says business model canvas, what it's doing is it is a systematic way to deliver value to your clients. But while you're doing your business model canvas, you have to do your value proposition canvas. Something I would love to spend more time with you when we have the time in the future. So your value proposition canvas is about observations and design. So what are you observing? You are observing your customer profile. Sorry. You're observing your customer profile. Who is your customer? What are their daily jobs? What do they have to do? Where do they work? How do they travel to work? What do they do when they come home? What are what is a positive for them, a gains? What is something that they want to achieve on a day-to-day basis? And what are some of their challenges on a day-to-day basis? So your social media marketing is about creating the content that meets the needs of your customer. If your pain is safety and safety in terms of COVID-19 safety, then your pain reliever in your market must explain to the customer that you have what it takes, the method, the system to keep them safe when they come to the hospital. So that's what you have to figure out and what you have to do. Yeah. All right. So that was a quick one. Any questions so far? Any questions? Yeah. So I spoke about 2 things. One is the need to understand the customer segment and to understand the value proposition. And to understand the value proposition, we need to do the value proposition canvas, which is figuring out who it is and can our solution meet their needs. And this becomes what you communicate on social media to your customer. But it's a very specific, narrow customer. It's not en masse. Yeah. Okay. I have I have about 20 minutes left. If I may, if with your permission, I would like to spend about 10 minutes talking about, no, maybe less, maybe 7 minutes talking really quickly about some global case studies, and then we ask Q&A. We go to question and answers. Okay. Thank you. This has been great. I've been really enjoying listening to your questions. So I hope you are writing it down, please. Okay, let me see. My next slide is about. Let me tell you first how I came to doing to choosing this global case study thing. How did I come about with these case studies? I was writing a paper for the Oxford Encyclopedia on traditional medicine, indigenous health in indigenous hands. And just yesterday, I was actually not the day before yesterday, I was talking to my children about the beauty of Indonesia, the thousands of islands that you have, and all the different language groups that you have, but united by one Bahasa Indonesia, and how diverse Java is. And you can go from one region to another region, and you can see the beautiful cultural changes. And I didn't even say much about food, because my kids are quite familiar with the beautiful food from Indonesia, from Malaysia, from Singapore. And so they already know it's a topic that I always like to cover. So let me talk to you about global case studies while I was doing this paper on well-being, on traditional medicine and indigenous people. And you will know this very well because you work with so many indigenous peoples, and I'm sure you have many groups in Surabaya. I have something that I want to read to you. With your permission, let me read to you, and you can read it yourself here. There are many challenges for indigenous people to access mental health care that is relevant and culturally appropriate. So here, the context is mental health care, and the context is indigenous health. And this is from the paper. I wrote this with my colleague. And is more often compounded by generalizable interventions from a best practice paradigm. So remember when I first started my lecture and I said, we get bombarded by research material from the West all the time. They have resources, they have money, they have very rich universities. And most of these riches have come from colonization, from 300 colonization of Indonesia and all the islands and all the wealth. And now they have the resources to do a lot of great research. It's not because they are extra smart or anything like that. I think it's all about the resources. So we get a lot of generalizable intervention and best practice. It's not very useful. Let me share with you why. Little importance is given to producing local indigenous-led mental health programs that incorporate indigenous knowledge and culture. This is what the transition for healthcare and public health needs to be about in Southeast Asia for social media marketing. It has to have local knowledge, local flavor, local culture. So despite clinical trials, and I looked at 3 of the top studies on Scopus, the result is adverse and limited effects on suicide-related outcomes for indigenous people were reported. Adverse and limited effects. So some interventions were even bad for indigenous people, and other interventions had no effect. This is something really serious. So I have here on the picture is a indigenous-led from the polar circle, so very high up in the ice caps of North America, a small indigenous group, and they have a YouTube channel where they interview their elders. There's not that many videos on their channel, but for quite a while they were doing interviews so that people can see the views and the ideas from their indigenous elders, right? And there's another example that I draw from another global case study was